Thanks everyone for coming out to this media availability, especially on short notice. My name is Andrew Urkamp. I'm the communications lead here at the Edmonton Archdiocese. And as you know, the situation with the delegation visit, the Indigenous Delegation, is very fluid, and there has been a decision on that. And Edmonton Archbishop Richard Smith is here to take questions. First off, the treaty land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6, 7, and 8 territory, on which we stand is the ancestral traditional land of the Indigenous people and is common home to everyone in virtue of God, our Creator's gracious gift. And welcome to everyone online as well. Archbishop.
Thanks, Andrew. Welcome, everybody. So as Andrew mentioned, I guess we all have heard by now of the decision that's been taken to postpone the delegation of Indigenous peoples to Rome to meet with Pope Francis. Thanks for coming out on such really short notice. So I thought I'd give you just a little bit of background to the decision itself, how it came about, and then if you've got any questions that need clarification, then I'm happy to entertain those. When we had our press conference here last week, we signaled then that we've been monitoring pretty closely this situation of the Omicron variant, how it's spreading, people are worried about this, the increasingly challenging and fluid travel restrictions and everything else. So over the last few days, the Bishop's working group that has been coordinating this initiative has been in dialogue with the National Indigenous organizations, their leadership, so First Nations, Métis, and Inuit, to see what their feeling is about whether or not we proceed with the delegation in these particular circumstances. And so, after a lot of soul searching, I'd have to say, because we've all been looking forward to this for quite some time now, a lot of work has gone into this, the decision was taken collaboratively and really following the leadership of the Indigenous themselves, that it would be best for everybody concerned if we were to postpone the delegation until a time, hopefully sooner rather than later, in the new year. As I listened to the Indigenous leaders, I have to say I was deeply impressed by the love and the concern that they were expressing for their delegates, especially the elderly among them. We know that many of the delegates are elderly, they're elders in their community, they're also survivors from the residential school system, together with some youth. And the leadership really wanted to do everything that we could to assure, before anything else, the health and the well-being, particularly of the elderly. Of course, we as bishops are of the same view, and we've been in dialogue with the Holy See in Rome, and they are of the same view. Of course, health comes first. So we will work with, this is the Holy See, we'll work with you to see what we can do to come up with a date in the new year where the delegation can proceed. This is a postponement, it's not a cancellation. I've had opportunity in the little time we've had since the announcement was made to reach out to our Alberta delegates. So I've spoken on the phone with Chief Wilton Littlechild, with Gary Gagnon, and with Angie Creer. And I'd have to say that together we do feel deep disappointment at this. We've all been looking forward to this for quite some time. It's important to all of us together that we heal our relationships, that we strengthen them, that we move forward with all that we've been doing. At the same time, there's an awareness that you have to do what you have to do. And in these particular circumstances, this is the most prudent course. The commitment of the bishops to this remains very strong. And from what I've heard from our delegates, as well as from the Indigenous leadership itself, their commitment to this is strong. So I find that really encouraging. This is the step we need to take right now. We'll keep forging ahead with all that we do to keep our relationship strong and growing, such as, for example, we'll proceed on Sunday with a Mass, special Mass, on the feast day of Our Lady of Guadalupe, which is particularly important to our Indigenous peoples, a special Mass there to celebrate them and to stand in solidarity with them. Other initiatives will continue. But in terms of the delegation, we've just had to take this difficult, disappointing, but ultimately prudent decision to postpone our trip to Rome. Okay. So given that, shall we just open it up to some questions or need for clarification?
Can I ask you a question in French?
Et je vais essayer de répondre en français aussi.
Merci. Vous dites avoir eu un dialogue justement avec les chefs des Premières Nations particulièrement. Évidemment, pour certains, ça fait des décennies qu'ils attendent ce moment. On le repousse encore. Il doit y avoir beaucoup de déception. À quoi ces conversations ressemblent?
Ce n'est pas la première fois qu'on a décidé de reporter la délégation à Rome. On a dû le faire il y a 2-3 ans maintenant pour la même raison, à cause du COVID. Déception, oui, c'est commun parmi tout le monde. Mais en même temps, comme je viens de dire, il reste parmi nous un engagement de continuer avec la délégation, continuer avec le dialogue, non seulement avec le Saint-Père, mais aussi au Canada, parmi tous les partenaires de ce dialogue. Alors, je suis encouragé par cet engagement commun parmi tous les partenaires. Est-ce que ça répond à la question? Parce que c'était un peu difficile d'entendre tout.
Oui, ça répond. Si je peux me permettre, par exemple, pour un suivi, qu'est-ce qui va déterminer quand est-ce que vous allez décider quand se tiendra ce voyage, à quand il sera reporté?
Quand est-ce que nous décidons la date pour la prochaine réunion? C'est en dialogue avec le Saint-Siège. Il faut consulter l'agenda du Saint-Père. On espère bien d'ici 4 mois peut-être, aussitôt que possible. C'est tout ce qu'on peut dire actuellement en cet égard.
A very important issue. Is there an opportunity to do something virtually?
The question came up a couple of times, you know. The heart of all of this, it seems to me, is the building of relationship, all right? Sitting down and meeting with people face to face. There's no substitute for that. In fact, the Holy Father himself, and this is key to his whole papacy, he calls the church, he's calling the world to a culture of encounter, encountering the other person. Meet them, hear their story, appreciate their giftedness, respond in kind. I think we all know from our common experience with these various social media platforms, not social media platforms, but video conferencing platforms over the last little while, it just isn't the same, all right? You can't have really an experience of truly personal encounter, of a heartfelt sharing of story that you do and you can person to person. So it seems that the common approach to this is as long as there rests the possibility to meet person to person with the Pope, he remains open to this, the Holy See remains open to this. They're saying to us today, we'll work with you to make this happen as soon as we can. So as long as that possibility is there, people want to carry forward with an in-person encounter rather than take what really would be second best through a virtual meeting.
Totally understand that. This is a different world. We've been doing this for 2 years now.
Yep.
To totally negate a meeting at all, just because it can't be in person, doesn't that set...
No, because we're not negating it. We're taking this step by step.
I see.
Precisely because of the importance of this, right? So we're not saying let's give up on this, cancel it, can't happen. We're saying postpone this. That's obviously very, very different. And the Holy See, the Pope, they're open to this. Okay, let's continue to work at it and make sure we can do it in person.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay.
I guess the elder's name from Thursday, I can't remember her name.
Angie.
What was her reaction?
Just got off the phone with her. And of course, this is all so fresh, right? So people are starting to hear it from a phone call or from the news or whatever. So I wanted to make sure that each of our delegates were aware. So I spoke to them personally. So Chief Wilton Littlechild, Gary Gagnon, Angie Creer, they're the Alberta delegates. And her first response is, I'm just so disappointed, she said, so disappointed. Well, you heard her, if you were here at the press conference, the passion. She wants to tell her story, and she wants to tell it to the Pope. And she was just totally overwhelmed at the fact that she would have this opportunity. So we also saw how frank and open she is. So she was very, very clear. I'm disappointed. But in the same breath, she said, she's very realistic. We have to take the measures that we have to take. And right now, the health of everybody comes first. And there's also the complicating factor of the travel restrictions, right? So there's the health concern. But if we have people come back, if for some reason they have to quarantine, so the plan was to come back on the 21st, quarantining would take them over Christmas. They've been longing for so long now, finally to get together in person with loved ones over Christmas. Don't want to risk that either. So even if we were to come back healthy, and please God we would, there's that particular dimension also that they're grappling with. So on balance, they said this is probably what's going to make the most sense and be most prudent.
I believe there's a question online, Lincoln.
Okay.
Oh, wait. My bell signal.
Okay. So wait a couple minutes for that. And
Okay. Your Grace, did you, this is from Michael Swan, Catholic news.
I know, Michael. Yeah.
Your Grace, did you know that the National Chief, Roseanne Archibald, would make the statement she made this morning in advance? Would you have liked to have known?
I did not know that she would be making that in advance. I think I'll just leave it at there, Michael, because I don't know the ins and outs of what determined the particular timing of that announcement. So let me just say that I was unaware of it. Okay, very good. Thank you, everybody. Any final words there, Andrew?
Your Grace, could you comment on how this would affect a potential visit by the Holy Father in 2021? Or
it's hard. It's too early. It's too early to know that. So we'd have to get a sense of when we can go for the delegation. That's first and foremost. Those are the facts that we're dealing with. A potential visit for the Pope, that's so uncertain right now. We know that he wants to come, but when he might be able to do that is just so up in the air. We're taking it a step at a time. We'll stick with the delegation and work around that.
J'ai peut-être une dernière question pour vous. Qu'est-ce que vous avez comme message pour les gens qui sont peut-être découragés par cette nouvelle et qui ont l'impression que cette visite n'arrivera finalement jamais?
Alors, tout d'abord, je voudrais dire que je partage la déception. Bon, je ne suis pas découragé parce que je suis convaincu du niveau très, très haut de l'engagement de la part des évêques, de la part des personnes autochtones impliquées dans cette affaire. Alors, à cause de tout ça, je ne suis pas du tout découragé. Déçu, oui, c'est sûr. Mais à cause de l'engagement du Saint-Père, du Saint-Siège, des autochtones, je suis convaincu qu'on va continuer très fortement avec le processus nécessaire de rétablir, de guérir des relations, des rapports entre les personnes autochtones et l'Église.
Okay. Any further questions?
Thanks, everybody, so much for coming so quickly. Wow, thank you.